What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kind of Funny Gamescast for Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the unemployed Shuhei Yoshida. Hey, Shu, how are you?
I'm unemployed.
You're wearing a great Kind of Funny shirt. Great Kind of Funny shirt, though.
I'm very free. Yeah, so I'm so happy and enjoying freedom. Free.
It is. You've had one day off. So you finished PlayStation, you had one day off, and now it is 9 a.m. in Japan, and you are nice enough to throw on a Kind of Funny shirt and come join us for the Gamescast. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Hi.
So, I mean, first things first, I got a million things, I got a million questions, all PlayStation stuff, but like, do you feel like a giant weight has been lifted? I mean, 31 years at PlayStation, now you don't have a job.
Well, I didn't realize how much, the last 5 years I was, one person department doing indie things and working with all different department people. So I didn't have a organization to manage your staff, to manage your budget, nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I was so relaxed, I felt, and enjoying the, work life. However, the last couple of months, especially after we made the announcement, I didn't realize how much pressure I was putting myself on.
Yeah.
And I was so really, people told me how relaxed I look now and how happy, I look.
Yeah.
I tend to look happy, but people who've known me for years told me, I look different.
Well, even I mean, right now, of course, yes, 9 a.m. You're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed here. But even when we went to dinner when you were in San Francisco not too long ago in December, like I said that to you at the bar, I was like, "Dang, you like." There is definitely a weight off of you. The fact that you're like, okay, cool, I'm doing this. And what you said, it felt like you graduated, right? Everybody's being so nice to you. You kept saying.
Yeah, it's amazing. Last 6 weeks after the announcement, the overwhelming volume of messages with all these great things people said to me, and the things they talked about, the things they did with me many years ago, photos we took.
Yeah.
Unbelievable days that I spent for the last six weeks.
I was excited to have this. It's your first podcast outside of PlayStation. It was a big deal. I thought we'd be the big news. But then lo and behold, today you go and tweet. You're not unemployed. You're a voice actor now. You put out the game trailer for Promise Mascot Agency. These legendary Japanese voice actors, and then a gaming legend, Shuhei Yoshida, is in this game as well. How does that feel? Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't know if they planned that way right after my leaving company, and it was great timing that they announced. So it was at Tokyo Game Show last year, and I had a chance to show the game, on stage as one of the upcoming, great, PlayStation indie games. And as I was doing the stage show, we are playing live. So, because the game had a conversation and they didn't have voiceover as yet, and I and the another, host, she and I are taking roles to talk about, play as game characters. And I was playing the Michi, the lead character, on that stage. But while we are doing, the developer was like, we should get Shu on the game.
I like this. Yeah. I like this. And they timed it out very well to ride your freedom here to be able to say, hey, this is it.
Well, that was my first ever really, serious voice acting.
Yeah.
And they are professional voice actors voicing the other characters. So it was huge pressure. And I realized how hard it is, to act.
Oh, yeah.
And, I was just reading script, but, to become the character and try to convey the emotions or personality, it was so difficult and fun.
Well, Troy Baker, look out.
You did it as well, right? For Mike Visser's game.
Shu, I've done it for many games. Okay,
Oh,
I'm a seasoned voice actor. Yes, of course. I was in Solitaire Conspiracy. I've been in Lego Marvel. I've been in DC Universe Online. This isn't about me. All right, this is about giving you your flowers because this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday, we run you through the biggest topics in video games, whether they be reviews, previews, or interviews. If you like that, pick up a Kind of Funny membership. Of course, you can get all of our shows. That's more than 20 a week ad-free. The ability to watch the afternoon podcast live as we record them, and your daily dose of me, Trending Gamer, Greg Miller, and a show we call Greg Way. Of course, if you have no bucks to toss our way, no big deal. You can like, subscribe, share, follow on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, podcast services like Spotify and Apple. And of course, you can get that membership on Apple, Spotify, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, and patreon.com/kindoffunny to support an 11-person small business. If you are watching live right now, you can ask Shuhei your burning PlayStation questions or video game landscape questions by YouTube super chatting on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. I already see so many people coming in. All right, Ian, CJ, I see you. We'll get to you. Don't worry. Housekeeping for you. Like I said, Kind of Funny is an 11-person small business all about live talk shows. Today, you've already got Kind of Funny Games Daily talking about Ubisoft's murky future, and the stream was more of that movie game everyone is obsessed with. If you're a member, like I said, supporting us, my Greg Way today was about if you have to finish a game to put it on your Game of the Year list. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Delaney Twining and Carl Jacobs. Today we're brought to you by BetterHelp, ExpressVPN, and MeUndies. We'll tell you about that later. For now, let's start the show with what is, and forever will be, topic of the show. Tots. Great job, Shu. You're there. You're a fan. I love it.
Thank you.
Shuhei, 31 years. It's done. You've left PlayStation. The first question has to be asked. Who do you hate at PlayStation?
Oh, that's wow. Do I hate it?
Was it Herman? Was it Herman? Did you hate Herman?
No.
Okay.
I don't think I ever hated Herman. Even though he took
For
my job.
Time. Yeah, he took your job. He took your job.
He took my job.
You were his boss at one point when you were president of Worldwide Studios. You're telling me Herman never was like missed a deadline, decided to make another Killzone, and you were like, bro, come on.
No. They did amazing Killzone 2, right? And Killzone 3 was great. And Shadowfall are the launch title. And I love the Vita game, Killzone game.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, Horizon. Horizon was an amazing concept. And, so it was, we always did every year at E3. After E3, we gathered the, people from studios and they showed what they are doing each other, like sharing ideas and tech. And the Killzone team, Guerrilla team presented the two concepts actually they are working on as prototyping.
Yeah.
And get all the studio people to vote for which project they should do next. And one of which was Horizon. And that looks so amazing. And so when GDC a few years after was the day of the launch of the game.
Yeah.
So we gathered together, during the GDC, studio people, we got, gathered together. So twice a year we got together as Worldwide Studios teams, and we celebrated the launch of Horizon together. We did the countdown, at the midnight. Anyway, so it's hard to hate him.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So who else?
Nate Fox.
Ken Kutaragi-san was so difficult, hard to work with, but he made PlayStation, right? He gave us all to have chance to work in this amazing, in that amazing company. And in my case, for long time, and gave me do amazing career. So even though it was really hard to work for him, and we always talked about Ken after hours. When we go to drinks, there's always that person, right?
Oh yeah,
that person never exists in the party, but everybody talking about that person. So Ken was one of those people. How harsh he was, or how difficult he changed mind all the time.
Now, one of my favorite Shuhei Yoshida stories, of course, is that you came to life for us when we were making Podcast Beyond. You tweeted at me that you loved the show. There was a whole thing. It led to an interview. It led to this friendship, yada, yada, yada. Years into being your online friend, and then obviously your in real life friend, I think it might have been, no, I was going to say it's Scott Rohde, but it wasn't. It was another developer who we were out for drinks when they were showing their game. And I mentioned how great you were and how much I loved you. And they stopped dead and they looked at me and they were like, do you understand how scary this man is? Like he and me, like you think he's so nice. You think he's this teddy bear. You think he's so funny on Twitter. I've been in meetings where you present the game for 30 minutes and then he goes, what's fun about it? What is this? Why are you trying to? I heard you can say that Ken is tough. Ken Kutaragi used to be a tough guy and you'd go talk about him. From what I understand, people used to go talk about you that way, Shu.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
Do you think that's
good thing is the last 5 years?
Yeah,
I was not like that. So the last 5 years, I was working with young people in all different parts of the company. Store people, TPR, in marketing, social. They didn't know me like that. Right?
Yeah.
So they've been all friendly and it was so fun and they couldn't believe when someone said I was such a
hard ass.
Yeah.
So, do you think that comes from starting the way you did with PlayStation? Like you said, you joined Ken's team. You joined the original PlayStation team in '93, and correct me if I'm wrong, you joined and you're the first non-engineer to join, right? So like there must have been tremendous pressure put on that entire team, let alone you then to justify your role in the whole thing.
So when I was managing Worldwide Studio, that's the time people kind of knew me as a difficult boss because of course I was responsible for the final quality of the games, right? First party games, but because the company is so created this environment for us to really, there's a saying in the English that gives them enough rope, right?
They'll hang themselves, yeah.
So company really gave us chance to really do our best and gave us time and resource and understanding. We always, delayed the game and exceeded budget and we got complained. But in the end, they trusted us. In the end, we do, great job with the game in terms of quality and delivery. So because I knew we are in that environment, if we don't do great job making games, it's all our fault, right?
Sure.
There's no one else to blame. So that's the reason I was so demanding, maybe the term.
Yeah,
but with all respect for these, great people making games.
Well, I mean, it worked, right? I was, again, doing my research beforehand. Not that I need any refreshers on Shuhei Yoshida, but I enjoyed the way when you became a BAFTA fellow, they put out this. As president of SIE's Worldwide Studios from 2008 until 2019, Yoshida was among those responsible for producing several wildly popular franchises, such as Uncharted, God of War, The Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn, Ghost of Tsushima, MLB The Show, Journey, Bloodborne, and 6 titles in the Ratchet & Clank franchise. I think being a hard ass paid off. That's a pretty great run of PlayStation exclusive games. Not even bringing in things like, The Last Guy that you guys did and stuff.
Well, the good thing is, people don't remember bad games, right? People remember great games, and people don't know how many games we cancel, right?
How many did you?
We announced and canceled, so people know, about these games. Because we are a big fan of doing new IPs, right?
Yeah.
And trying new IP is always risky, right? So we start new game and evaluate the prototype, and if it doesn't look good, we give more time or we just cancel it, right? Stop early. That's very important. So people don't know how many cancellations we have done.
So I want to stop you there because, again, this is 31 years of PlayStation. I'm expecting people to have known your whole history to some degree and yada yada. I want to get into it, but right here, this is a question I think that speaks so much to blind spots for me, sure, as press, but me as a fan as well. When you're working on a game, or you're, either working on a game like when you were a producer, or when you're the head of Sony Worldwide Studios and you have all these developers showing games, how do you know when it is, well, let's put our head down and push for another year to try to find the fun in this, or it is, no, we're stopping right here and we're canceling this project?
Well, you have to rely on your instinct, right?
Sure.
Well, of course, how the game, well, what the team is trying to do, and what's the foundation they are able to develop to build the game upon, and their experience of polishing and finishing the game in the past, and of course like a commercial kind of thinking. How much more money we have to spend, and what the revenue and profit we can bring in, and compare that. But forecasting sales is a black magic. No one can. No one can. After so many years in making games and in the industry, I don't trust any marketers who say that they can forecast game sales, right?
Yeah.
Who would have predicted Helldivers 2 would sell more than Spider-Man 2, right?
Not me.
So that's the nature of the business. So of course, we look at the commercial side of things, but in the end, you have to trust your guts. So the biggest, at that time, like a PS3 generation, it was a huge cancellation. The biggest one I did was project, two projects after we spent $25 million. So that was a huge cancellation at that time. But these days, the size of the games is even bigger. So, we see and hear about bigger cancellations. But, $25 million we have spent so many years, team worked on. Do we stop that now? So that was really a difficult decision we had to rely on. So no one knows, right? Yeah. There's no A and B comparison. If we had continued these games, we might have had another game of the year. Who knows, right?
Yeah. So who was making the games you canceled?
Who was?
You're 25. You're $25 million.
I wouldn't say, but great studios. So that's another thing. So what I always said and thought about is great team, talented team, brilliant people, and spending so many years in a project. They worked so hard. Getting that project canceled is so harsh, right?
For sure.
So hard, so gut crushing. So in order to make it a little bit more acceptable, I always said that I don't want you people, great people, to spend another 3 years on this. Rather, I want you to start something totally fresh and new. So that's the better way of spending your talent. So that's how I try to explain.
And they were like, "Screw you! I quit. I'm not working for you another 3 years. You're killing my game."
Some of them.
Some of them did. So I appreciate so much that you obviously. We're not going to talk about the specifics of these games that were canceled. That's fine. So stick with me. Let's do a positive take on the line of questioning we're on. For you, as Worldwide Studios boss, what do you think was the most unexpected surprise? You brought up Helldivers 2, which of course is after the fact. That's more recent. You were already over on Indies. But when you were there, what was a game that you're like, oh, this is cool and it's going to do fine, and instead it went to the moon?
Went to the moon. That's a good way.
That's a positive. Oh yeah, that's up.
That's a positive.
Through the roof. Through the roof.
Went to the moon. Through the moon. Well, I have to say Gran Turismo, right? Gran Turismo.
Really?
Yeah. Well, so the team, it was one of the first game I co-produced with Kazunori Yamauchi, and they had done 2 Motor2 Grand Prix games, like a kart racing games on PS1. That was great game, great car feel. Yeah. But their next game was the Gran Turismo. And of course, the game had amazing visuals and a great, car physics system. But Yeah, so when the game was launching, I was hoping that, oh yeah, if this could do, million or maybe 2 million units or, like that.
Yeah.
These like 10 millions and tens of millions. So yeah, I have to say, Gran Turismo was
Okay.
the first, huge surprise, good in a good way that I experienced.
This will sound negative, but it's not. Because obviously the game got through and you made it and blah, blah. Is there a game you think of like, I can't believe that didn't do more? Is there a game you're like, this is going to be a huge hit? This is going to, I know it's black magic to guess numbers, but you were like, this is going to be something amazing in terms of sales, and it just didn't find that audience?
Well, yeah, sometimes, when a new IP launches and get a great great reception, the people want a sequel, right?
Yeah.
They want more of that. So the team makes sequel, and oftentimes the second game do better because they are always, already millions of fans. But sometimes, the one I was a bit surprised, in terms of the number of units did was the second Horizon game.
Okay.
I loved Horizon game, and the game did well, and I was hoping that the sequel would do even better in terms of sales. The game was bigger and great.
Of course.
But I don't think the second one did as many units as the first one.
For sure. So then, for somebody who's just joining us, 31 years of PlayStation, Shu, talk to me about that. How does that start for you? Because, of course, you can go through and you can read your Wikipedia page and we see you doing stuff with Sony, but how do you go into, hey, I'm going to go work on this PlayStation project? How does that start for you?
Yeah, so I joined Sony Corporation, the electronics company, in 1986. And I was right out of college. I joined Sony, for one, I wanted to work outside Japan. And Sony's 90%, 80+% of business was outside Japan. So I was hoping that. But at the same time, it's unbelievable, but I believed Sony in the future will do video game. Because Sony is doing like a consumer, low-end personal, PCs, like a hobby PCs. And because, gaming system is, computer. So I was hoping the Sony would get into the video game business, and I was hoping to join that team.
I want to hard stop you right there. Were you hoping because you were already playing games, you were already enjoying games, you wanted to?
Yeah. I was a huge game fan. Yeah, from the early arcade days. When I was a kid, the new arcade came. Tabletop, Pac-Man, or what's a shooting game?
Asteroids.
No,
Space Invaders.
Space Invaders. Yeah, like that. So I am a huge video game fan, and I wanted to work on video game if Sony, when Sony get into. And I was talking about that. So maybe that's the secret. When you want to do something, talk about it to whoever would listen. Because when I joined Sony, I joined in the headquarter function. And the boss at that time, Terry Tokunaka, was managing helping the new business. And one of the new business was Ken Kutaragi's team making audio chip for Nintendo, Super Nintendo system.
Yep.
So Super Nintendo system had the audio chip that Ken Kutaragi's team designed. That's the reason Super Nintendo games sounded so good, right?
Yep.
And they are working on the CD-ROM system for Super Nintendo.
Oh, I remember.
And the original, PlayStation that didn't come out.
Yeah.
So the Terry Tokunaka's team, my team, another person was assigned to help Ken's team, but that person was not, knowledgeable about video game industry. So I was giving lots of advice to that person, my colleague, that, if, Ken's working on 3D graphics, work with Namco or something like that.
Sure.
And so Terry remembered me, talking about video game, and huge video game fan. And when I was working in the PC, personal computer department in Sony, he called me and asked me to meet this person, Ken Kutaragi. And it turned out to be an interview. So I joined Ken's team. And 2 weeks after, Terry came as the boss of the department, boss of Ken Kutaragi. So Terry was, of course, he was coming, to join Ken, and he started gathering people he knew that he thought he might be able to use. So that's how I got into Ken's team.
So when you come in there, how do you transition from I know game stuff, but I'm working on this chip or whatever, to then being the guy who's like producing titles, who's giving feedback to developers? How does all that happen?
Yeah, thank you. So when I started in Ken's team, Ken's team was working on the very first PlayStation, and everyone else was engineer, right?
Yeah.
Like 30 people or so. And I was the first non-technical person, and I was assigned to do the outreaching in the industry, Japanese video game industry. And because Ken's team was getting ready to talk about PlayStation and evangelize and trying to get the Japanese publishers to make games on PlayStation. So that was my first assignment, and so I made phone call to companies from the Hokkaido to Kyushu, and brought together the team of leaders from Ken's team, and presented and talked about this is great 3D graphics, real-time 3D, and can you make games on PlayStation? But most of companies, especially large companies, said that 3D graphics really doesn't help video game. It may work for racing games or shooter, but not other games or like that. But anyway, so that's how I got into the what we now call third-party relations department.
Sure.
So I was one of the lead account manager. I was helping Namco, Konami, and these Japanese publishers.
Of course.
So I did it for 4 years, I think, with a group of account manager and me. And so because I was not because working on through the work that we did, I got to see how the new game is planned and presented, and see milestones as I talk to and visit Namco and Konami and these companies. They showed me what they've been working on. So I kind of got the sense of the process of how video games are being developed. So maybe that helped me to give some perspective. And also, I was working with marketing and sales department from these publishers. So I learned a thing, from these people about marketing video games. So, but I didn't think at the time I would be able to join the game production team because I cannot program, or I cannot create art or nothing, right?
But yeah, I feel like that'd be the biggest thing of like listening to your story, and now you're getting these skills. It starts to make more sense to me, because I would feel like even now I can tell you what I like or don't like about a game, but to sit there, and it's like gray box, or it's in Maya, or it's just a pitch, I would feel so like, well, I've never made a game, so me criticizing what you're doing at this stage, I wouldn't feel like I would know. I have a leg to stand on in the argument. But obviously, if you're seeing it already and going, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So, working with large company like Namco, I learned, great people from these companies. And also at the same time, we wanted to find new exciting games, from new developers, right? As a third-party department. That's another thing. We always wanted to find out new teams, new talent. And so lots of submissions like, game pitches and like that. So we are able to see many different examples of how games are pitched, how games are developed. So that might also have helped me to look at what makes great games and what kind of teams and people make great games.
Sure.
So I was always thinking about, and also as a game fan, when I play game, I always thought that why I'm enjoying this game. What about this game I'm so happy about playing? So kind of analytical kind
Sure.
of thinking while I'm playing, and so for the last 30 plus years, I think I never didn't do that. I always did that to think about games, I played, if I liked, why I like this. Or, games are popular. I try that game and try to understand why people enjoy this game.
Sure.
And
sure.
also read interviews, listen to or watch interviews and try to find out the people who made great games, how they did it, right? Yeah, so that's for the last 30 years, I think I always try to, because it's so magical.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
In those 30 years of analytically thinking about games, but more importantly, maybe for this question, creators, what have you found? Like, when you meet a developer and you listen to them talk about their game, what are you looking for, not only from the game, but from them as a person, them as a creator?
Yeah. Sometimes, you meet a creator who does not say, this game is like, Souls-like in the space, or, yeah. But sometimes, developer says, this game, I want, people to feel this way and that way, when you do this is so fun. I want to create the feeling of doing these things in this game, or like having the very, very deep thinking of what kind of experience that the creator is trying to deliver to the player. So, there are a few people in the industry who does that, and that's the kind of people I really respect. And oftentimes, great games come from these creators.
Yeah, usually not saying you're copying something. It means you're onto something original, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's kind of common, right? Especially
totally.
Trying to find the funding, right? So people who are not in the industry, who have money, it's easy to explain your game, associate with other successful games. So
yes, that's why everything's trying to be Fortnite, right? You have all these investors, and they're saying, "How do we make money like Fortnite?" You say, "Oh, my game's a lot like Fortnite. I have a battle pass," and they go, "Okay, let's go." And then 6 years later, it never comes out. Before we get too far into the present and the future, these first days of PlayStation, you start on this new team. It's exciting. It's what you kind of willed into existence since '86. Is there any fear? Is there a trepidation? You're starting off and launch. Is PlayStation ever going to see the light of day? Is PlayStation or is Sony going to cancel it or not want to do it? Do you worry about that at all?
So, because I love video games and I really wanted to work in video game at Sony, so my personal goal, as I joined Ken's team, was to help, somehow contribute to make PlayStation be successful, so that I can keep working on this project, working on video game.
Yeah.
So that was the most important goal, I think, for me. So I was always thinking about the overall, how PlayStation is doing, not just the thing I was directly responsible for, but I was always thinking what's lacking with PlayStation, what needs to be done from game to platform to marketing to whatever. So that's how I was always thinking. The most difficult time during PlayStation, other than the launch of PS3, that was hard. But during PS1 days, we launched in Japan in 1994. The next Christmas 1995, we didn't have a big title for the Christmas. And at that time in the industry, Christmas season was so important.
100%.
But we didn't have, we had Konami's dating game, Tokimeki Memorial. That was a great game, but that was the only game. And at that time, we are competing with Sega Saturn. And Sega had Virtua Fighter 2. It's an amazing game, hugely popular in the arcade. So the first Christmas was great. We had Ridge Racer, they had Virtua Fighter, so we sold out, hardware. So both our companies did great. But the second Christmas, Sega Saturn was doing better. So that was the most difficult time that I felt as part of PlayStation.
When you say it's the most difficult time, and what does that mean? Is it the morale? Is it pressure from the boss's boss's boss? What does that look like?
Yeah, because I was one of the leaders in the third-party relations team. The responsibility was to bring great games, from third-party companies, and we are not able to deliver that Christmas.
Gotcha.
So that was really, tough.
Of course. I want to talk about your ascension to being, but you bring up the PS3. Talk to me about that. How hard of a launch that was. Like, what again? Is that like? Is this before Slack? So you're in the office, you're talking about this, you're looking at numbers. Like when something like that happens, when the PlayStation 3 comes out and doesn't do like when do you remember being like, oh, we're in trouble on this one?
Yeah. So before the launch of PS3, because we get the prototype hardware, right?
Yeah.
To work on, first party, and the teams start working on. And it took multiple months to get the team to have something on screen to see. The PS3 CPU was such a advanced kind of architecture.
The cell processor, never forget.
Yeah, cell processor has multiple processors inside the processor, and the programmer has to divide the program into these different chunks to simultaneously use these processing power to draw the potential power of the hardware. And great people makes it amazing performance. The peak performance of cell processor was huge. It was even banned from exporting to certain countries, because it was considered supercomputing might be used for some military usage or something. Yeah. However, it was so hard to program that I learned from our, studio teams. That was scary, right? And the another thing was cost of goods that we never announced, and but it was so because the company built a factory to manufacture cell processor, and the development of cell processor was a huge project with IBM and Toshiba, was it? Multiple companies, lots of people involved. So the development cost was huge, and manufacturing investment was huge. And when I was talking with Ken, and Ken explained the business model of sales processor was, so he was thinking beyond video game, right? He had a huge huge vision that, people said he was competing with Intel at the time. So he said that we're going to build so PS3 would be huge. And he said we're going to build as big a new business outside the video game based on cell processor.
Sure.
So that was his business plan. So when you hear that, what would you think? Oh, okay. We have to build as big a new business out of this thing. Otherwise, we won't be able to recoup the investment.
No big deal.
So that was scary. Yeah. And of course, that vision didn't happen, unfortunately.
And then one of the big parts of the PS4 was like, "Hey, it's not the cell; it's a PC. It'll work." Cerny out there trying to tell every developer
Don't worry,
to bring it.
You know how to program.
Yeah. That was nice.
So the launch year and the second year after launch, the company made huge loss. So I thought we would be over. We are over. But luckily, during these years, Sony's TV division had a huge hit with flat screen, big screen CRT, not CRT, but called Vega series.
Oh yeah,
was
we
a
remember
huge
Vega.
success. Yeah. So the Sony parent company made lots of money to cover the loss from PS3. So we survived.
Was there ever a concern from you that PlayStation wouldn't survive that?
Oh yeah, when I learned about the loss we are making, I was like, oh, we are finished.
And so then PS3, I feel like Sony Worldwide Studios, you obviously in 2008, this is when you take over for the president role, but I feel like PS3 is really where that coalesces and becomes a thing, where people really do think about what would become PlayStation Studios. And we talk so much about first party and what people were making and all these different things. Like, was that because people now had to work so collaboratively because of the cell processor? You're saying it's so hard to make stuff for it. Were people having to share more stuff, and did it feel like it was y'all against the world?
So Worldwide Studio was formed in 2005.
Yeah.
That was Ken Kutaragi's creation. Ken's vision. Because the games are becoming larger in scope, and we are divided, 3 different companies within the company under Sony Computer Entertainment. Japan, US, and Europe have totally different production teams and making games individually. And each of us are like a mid-size, like a publisher. And Ken thought that, it's about time to, combine all the resources together to create the global organization. So that was Worldwide Studio. And luckily, because that happened and PS3 was so challenging to work on, we leveraged the best of best, technical expertise within the Worldwide Studios. For example, like engine program that Naughty Dog and Mark Cerny created. We provided, made that available for all the teams, in Worldwide Studios to make games on PS3 to extract the performance necessary to make games on PS3. And eventually, because third-party companies, publishers also struggled, we made these programs made available through our development portal to third-party companies as well. So under our studio, Phil Harrison and I worked, to make it so that the teams, let's collaborate, let's share the ideas and know-how and even technologies, tools together to learn from each other. So that's how I started the twice a year gathering of developers during GDC and E3 time. And Kaz Hirai succeeded Ken Kutaragi to be the head of PlayStation, and he wanted our studio teams to join the hardware development. So after Ken left, there are 2 new projects, PS Vita and PS4. So I helped hardware team to get Mark Cerny to on board to become the chief architect of these hardwares, PS Vita and PS4. And I moved to Japan. Kaz asked me to move from US to Japan because he wanted me to work closely with the hardware team. So while managing our studio, a part of time I spent participating in hardware meetings like PS Vita or PS4 meetings, and every time the hardware team had a question, like there are lots of choices they can make, what kind of device or technology they should choose to include in the future platform hardware. They want to make the hardware best for the games. So they really appreciated me to connect the hardware team with the studios like Santa Monica Studios, Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games, Media Molecule, whoever has a good idea on that particular technical topics that hardware team had in question. So hardware teams created the prototype and provided to our studio teams, and our studio teams created prototype games based on the prototype hardware and sent back to the hardware team, and we gathered together and discussed, and I invited the hardware team to join the studio gathering meeting during GDC and E3, so that they can have one face-to-face meeting to discuss these hardware specification discussions. And one great example, fruit of that effort is for PS4. You remember DualShock 4 had the share button, right?
Yeah, I've heard of it once or twice.
Yeah. So the PS4 was the very first game hardware that anyone can become a streamer, right? That idea came from Santa Monica Studios team.
No way, really?
They put together this presentation. Nathan Gary, who created Annapurna Interactive later and left Annapurna Interactive last year.
Yeah.
So he put together a slide saying that now that YouTube and Twitch are becoming popular, how about adding a dedicated button on controller so that anyone can just press the button and start streaming the games from PS4. So that the hardware team loved the idea, and that became the share button.
And it was a brilliant idea, right? I think it was one of those things that was ahead of its time. And now it's quaint because it's so easy to stream everything everywhere and everybody's doing it. But I remember, you think of what would go on to become kind of funny, but me streaming on my personal YouTube, right? Game Over Greggy. And it was that idea of the hoops I had to jump through to make it work, but this was turnkey. Everybody could suddenly do it and try it and see if you liked it, right? Like you could go live and get the 2 viewers you might get, but you'd know if it works and you'd be able to see if you enjoy doing it. Like it was a brilliant maneuver. And I think that comes from the collaboration you're talking about. And I'm glad it worked so well for PlayStation 4, but I need to ask, why didn't it work for Vita? Shu, where did we go wrong with PlayStation Vita? You and I love the Vita. You know we love it. What happened?
Yeah. There are, multiple reasons, right? Why Vita didn't work. It worked in a way that people love playing games, especially, indie games on PS Vita, right? Yeah. So it was lovely hardware. I loved it. People loved it. Gio Kosi loved it. Almost too much, right?
Yeah, of course. To the chagrin, when PlayStation wanted to stop talking about Vita, Gio and you would not let them stop talking about Vita.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember you and Colin always trying to help Vita, like a Vita Island, right? You even tried to recycle people who stopped playing PS Vita, send us so that I can provide
the Vita relocation program. Never forget.
Yeah.
A video we tried to debut that. During we did a PSX panel, we did a Beyond panel for PSX every year, and we tried to debut that video. Maybe it was PS I Love You even at this point. It might have been PS I Love You. It doesn't matter. We tried to debut the video at the relocation thing at PSX, and PlayStation PR called me the night before, and they're like, we're not showing this video where you're talking about the platform being dead and that people should send it into you to give it away. I digress. Where did we go wrong? Was it the back touch? It was the touchscreen.
So the positive side, when PS Vita started, Mark Cerny got brought on, and our team started joining. And the original idea, for the SoC, the core processor, was a different one, and that was going to be a failure from our team standpoint and Mark Cerny. So we are able to convince the team to change the main processor. So that was the very first contribution. And, we did a lot of, conversations, discussions, and making prototype, and the several technical choices we as a company made didn't really was a good one. The, one of which was the, dedicated memory card.
Right. Yeah, proprietary.
People had to purchase, proprietary memory card. That was a mistake. People had to spend more money to get the memory card.
Yeah.
And the back touch was not necessary, right? It was sometimes the teams made amazing prototype that felt so good, that misled everyone involved. That this would be great, but the backtouch was not. It added additional cost to the hardware. I think OLED was okay. It was such a beautiful screen. It was such a amazing, but the cost was higher.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about the cost. And the one feature, the hardware team had it, in the development hardware, like a dev kit for Vita, the same kind of unit, but it had a video out so that, a developer can connect to screen, like a, monitor and develop games on. And somehow, hardware team decided to take that feature out from the consumer image.
Who would want a handheld that you could also play on the TV? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's
just
really,
wants
really a bad idea, right? So hardware team removed that feature just to save a few cents of cost from the hardware. So that was not. But I think the biggest reason, in my mind, it's not a popular kind of thinking. But I think the biggest reason for Vita didn't do as well as we had hoped was we had to split all our efforts, resources into two different platforms.
Sure.
And we didn't have that resource. So, PS3 and PS Vita or PS4 and PS Vita, studio had to decide which team to work on which. And we didn't have that big talent pool to be able to support two different platforms. And of course, console is the biggest platform. We had to support PS3 and the launch of PS4. Really, we had to stop many projects from Vita because we didn't have team to make PS4 games. So otherwise, I think that's the biggest reason. And I think, this is another personal thinking. One of the reasons of the big success of Nintendo Switch is they stopped, working on two different platforms.
100%.
They always had, console and the handheld, right? And it's like an opposite of us. Nintendo did very well on handheld, but not so well on the console. So it was different from our side. But Nintendo Switch, all first party, just worked on just one hardware, right? So that, I think, really helped.
100%,
Nintendo
right?
Switch. I think so. I think that's the biggest reason.
Was there, and when you see the Switch and you understand what they're doing with it, and this is obviously at debut I'm talking about, had there ever been even an inkling of a conversation on PlayStation side of like, what if we did that? Or was it, was it just, we'll make the Vita, we make the console, we make a handheld, we make a console. Like, was there ever even a conversation in a, brainstorm of like, what if we just did one?
When I saw Nintendo Switch, I thought, this is PS Vita 2.
And it is. And now the Steam Deck's Vita 3.
Of how great to play indie games on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing system for indie games. But in terms of if a company thought about making system like that, I don't think so, because PlayStation Wii legacy was to provide the cutting edge, great hardware, performance hardware at a very affordable, price, and make the never seen before amazing, especially graphics games on console. So that was, a legacy. So moving from PS3 generation to PS4 generation, actually PS4 was designed alongside the PS Vita. So PS4 was already in the making. So after PS4, again, the PS4 was so successful, it's just natural to create a new hardware that's backward compatible with PS4, right? That's the extension or expansion of PS4. So that was PS5.
So then, before we move out of our handheld dreams here and we talk of all this stuff, talk to me about then, and you're at this point obviously over in the indie role, but you're still at PlayStation. Were they shocked to find out we all wanted a PlayStation Portal? Like when that drops, I know there's been, it outsold, it did more than what people thought it was going to do. Were you like, see, this is what I'm talking about. People want to hold their games.
Maybe Nishino-san would say that. When I learned about the PS Portal, I was like, who'd want this hardware? Just doing remote play, right? Yeah. So I remember saying to the hardware team, the only way the PS Portal will be successful would be if we sell this at $199. That's the only way. And they did it. Not because I said that, but probably they had the same kind of thinking. At the launch, hardware didn't have that streaming capability, even though it was like a technically possible, but they are not able to have it ready for the launch. So the only function that PS Portal had was to play your games on your, PS5, right?
Yeah.
So it was just a peripheral. So I didn't think people would spend more than $200 for a device like that. But luckily the company put that price, and the people found out how nice it is to play games. It's a huge 8-inch screen. It's
Gorgeous.
kind of light, right? Because it doesn't have big CPU or anything, and it has the real DualSense features in it. So yeah. So we are all surprised how well it was received and how well it sold.
So now that you're out, you have all this industry knowledge, obviously this industry history, you understand it. Now that you're out, do you think we ever see PlayStation enter again the handheld market? Like in terms of like the success of Portal, the learnings of Vita, seeing Steam Deck, seeing Switch, hearing about Xbox and their rumored handheld.
Yeah. So personally, for the last 3 or 4 years, the hardware gadget category I've been mostly excited with, I might have talked to you about this, is the portable gaming PC category. That, so I purchased like MPD, GPD is a great company from China. They make amazing portable gaming PC hardware. GPD Max Wing Max 2, GPD Wing. Sorry,
no, you're doing great.
Conventions, clamshell version of GPD Wing 2 is so good, and also Ayaneo is another company who create beautiful hardware. And the latest that I enjoy using is the Ayaneo Pocket S. It's not PC, but it's a Android device with two. That's the GPD Wing 2.
If you're an audio listener, this is a laptop. It's a laptop that has dual sticks to the top and a D-pad.
And the Ayaneo Pocket S is an Android device with 2 analog sticks and all the gaming buttons, and that play beautifully these recent mobile games. Some games are real action games, right? And so this Android device plays games so well. So that's the category I buy 1 or 2 new hardware every year these days. So of course I'm so excited if PlayStation in the future makes something like this. However, personally, because I said company, even now PlayStation is much bigger than PS3 days, but I don't think it's a good idea to try to manage 2 different platforms like PS4
for sure.
and PS Vita.
Yeah, I think everybody learned their lesson on that and saw the success now of Switch, and that's where they want to go. Shuhei, I have so many more questions for you. I have so many super chats for you, but I feel like it's about time to say, hey, everybody, if you're enjoying this show... What? What'd you say, Shu?
What? Oh, no. I thought you were saying we are going to be finished.
Oh, hell no. I'm not letting you out of here. I told Jen I'm going to be home late. We're going to go longer. I'm just going to go to the ads here, everybody. Everybody, if you like what you're seeing here, remember, we're a small 11-person business, and we need your support. You, of course, can get us live each and every day talking video games for free, starting at 10 a.m. with Games Daily, moving into the Gamescast around 11, and moving into a stream after that. But, of course, you could go that extra mile and pick up a Kinda Funny membership. A Kinda Funny membership gets you all of our shows ad-free. It gets you the ability to watch the afternoon podcast live as you record them, and, of course, your daily dose of me in a vlog/podcast we call Greg Way. This is available, of course, on kindafunny.com/ patreon.com/kindafunny, youtube.com/kindafunnygames, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. But right now, you're not using your membership benefits, so here's a word from our sponsors.
This episode's brought to you by MeUndies. At some point in our illustrious love lives, we've all asked our partner the same age-old question that guys have probably been asking for thousands of years. Am I big? While MeUndies doesn't know the actual answer to that, or if your partner gave you the actual truth, this Valentine's Day, they can help you look huge with their contoured pouch and ball caddy. Choose from tons of awesome Valentine's Day prints and styles, and match undies with your special someone for an extra special holiday treat. From all black classics to fun, expressive prints, MeUndies has a look for everyone. Y'all know I love MeUndies. All my black t-shirts are MeUndies, including this one I'm wearing right now. Try MeUndies out, and if you're not happy with your first pair of undies, it's on MeUndies. This Valentine's Day, good things come in big packages at MeUndies. Get 20% off your first order plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/kindafunny. That's MeUndies.com/kindafunny for 20% off plus free shipping. MeUndies, comfort from the outside in. This episode's brought to you by ExpressVPN. Going online without ExpressVPN is like not closing the door when you use the bathroom. Even if you think you have nothing to hide, why give random creeps a chance to invade your privacy? Internet service providers, including mobile network providers, know every single website you visit. ExpressVPN reroutes 100% of your traffic through secure encrypted servers, so your ISP can't see your browsing history. It hides your IP address, so it's even harder for third parties to track your online life. It's so easy to use. You just fire up the app and one click gets you protection, and it also works on phones, laptops, and more. I use ExpressVPN everywhere because it gives me so much peace of mind that I can explore the internet safely. Protect your online privacy today by visiting expressvpn.com/kindafunny. That's expressvpn.com/kindafunny, and you can get an extra 4 months free. expressvpn.com/kindafunny for an extra 4 months free. This episode's brought to you by BetterHelp. What do you want your 2025 story to be? Every January brings you 365 blank pages waiting to be filled in. In 2025, maybe you're ready for a plot twist, or maybe there's part of your story you've been wanting to revise. Life isn't about resolutions that fade by February. It's about picking up the pen and becoming the author of your own life. Think of therapy as your editorial partner, helping you write new chapters and create the meaningful story you deserve to live. Some of my best friends use BetterHelp and love how helpful it can be for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And it serves over 5 million people worldwide. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/kindafunny to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/kindafunny. BetterHelp.com/kindafunny.
And we're back, still here with unemployed Shuhei Yoshida, out, free, 31 years gone. We're pivoting off of handhelds. We're talking about, the future of PlayStation, the future of video games, all these different things. Now that you're out and can talk freely, what's your take on Xbox? Especially right now with everything's an Xbox. Your screen's an Xbox. Those headphones are an Xbox. It's very different than what y'all had been doing at PlayStation. What do you think of it?
Well, I have to be very careful, right? Because Xbox fans are so passionate, right?
There's so few of them, though. Really, it's just Snowbike Mike and Ryan McCaffrey. I think you're going to be okay. No, I'm kidding.
Well, with all respect, they, in my mind, Xbox teams have done, many times, like some pioneering things, something, ahead of everyone. So that's always great. And it's, for any industry, having competition is always healthy,
For sure.
because we have to work harder, right? So having, Nintendo does something different, right?
Yes.
So it's great to have Nintendo for different reasons. They train young children how to use controllers and play games and become video game fans and send fans over to us, like, PlayStation
that's
or
the
Xbox.
minor leagues. You guys are the major leagues of PlayStation.
No. The generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Xbox and PlayStation was always head to head, right?
Yeah,
So they did so well is Xbox 360, and we did well on other generations.
Yeah.
So it's always great to have competition, and because of Xbox, we had to be honest and humble and be always alerted and sometimes get inspiration from what they do. So yeah. So I think it's great rival to have.
Do you like this idea of it does as PlayStation consoles? This is the whole thing. We believe in generations. Do you see their play right now of being everywhere, being a box, being an app, being this, being on a phone, being the cloud? Like, do you look at that and go, I believe that'll work? Or do you think that that's a thing to take, but the safe spot is doing consoles?
Well, yeah. Well, in my mind, clearly that's what they've been saying, right? They've been saying for years.
Of course.
And this new campaign is a different way of them saying the same thing. Because Microsoft is a software company and now, server-based service company, I think it's natural for their like a DNA to think about providing services, through cloud or to any hardware or platform, like they made the Microsoft Office available on Macintosh, right?
Yeah.
Or the mobile, or I think that's personally, I think that's the same kind of thinking.
Okay. And you're okay with it? You like it?
Well, I don't know.
Do you like it or not like it? Say, do you like it or not like it?
Well, if I like it or not, I like what they are doing.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I stop there.
Okay, and I respect that. Thank you, putting an end to the questioning right there. I appreciate that a lot. In the other sense of like now that you're out, and especially after I think you switched over to the indie side, right, leaving Roll-Out Studios and going to do the indie side of all of this. When you look at the industry as a whole right now, where are you? I think there's so much conversation this year and last year about layoffs, studio closures. There's been so much conversations about this race to find the next Fortnite. Everything has to be a games as a service. Obviously, Concord this year. Are you bullish on where we're going? Do you think, in general, the industry's lost its way and needs to get back to it? Where are you with that conversation that you've heard me and Blessing and Tim talk so much about on Games Daily?
Oh, well, yeah. So, it's great to do challenge on something that's really difficult, right?
Yeah.
Go for big, go big or go home kind of thing. When I was managing first party, I was managing, of course, like a business. So, we spend this much money, we have to deliver this, this many much revenue, etc.
Sure.
In my mind, as you remember, after we worked so hard on PS2 days and PS3 days, like a SOCOM or Killzone or Resistance, these shooters, there came Call of Duty and huge successful franchises. And in my mind, working on, these service games is winner takes it all kind of, like a network effect kind of thing, right? And working on only one platform to try to compete in that is, putting ourselves already on disadvantage, whoever who tried to do that. And also, this game Call of Duty was available on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it's wise for me to allocate resource to try to compete in that genre. So so we stopped making these online service games.
Which always made so much, to pause you, always made so much sense to me. And granted, like you and your reign as the president of Worldwide Studios, it lines up so perfectly with me entering IGN, taking over the PlayStation team, Beyond, PS I Love You, etc. Like, I never understood, as somebody who loved Killzone 2 and played so much online, like, I knew it was a small community compared to Call of Duty. And the fact that juggernaut just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. I always thought it was smart that PlayStation, and I know that pisses off the Resistance fans and the Killzone fans, but I always thought it was smart that they backed off. You guys backed off and said, third party can run that. They can go do that. We don't need to make our own shooter. We don't need to make our own thing, which is why I was like so perplexed when this time around there was the Jim Ryan, we're doing more than a dozen live services. And I'm like, well, they can't all be shooters, but then it was Fair Games and Concord and Marathon and then Helldivers, but shout out to Helldivers. You know what's up with that. Like, it's just been an interesting pivot, and I wonder, for you, with your eyes on the entire industry, did it make sense to you?
Oh yeah, so for me, like I was saying, I was managing this budget, right, annual budget, and I was responsible to allocate resource to, money to what kind of games to make. If the company was considering that way, probably wouldn't have made sense to stop making great, like another God of War or whatever, like a single player game, and put all the money into these service games. However, what they did after I moved on and Herman took over is company and Sony added a lot more resource. They are like, they didn't, I don't think they said to Herman that stop making these single player games. They said, oh yeah, these games are great, just continue doing it, and we give you additional resource to work on these, service games and try it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they knew it's risky. It's not the chance of a game successful in this hugely competitive genre would be small. However, company knowing that risk gave Herman resource and chance and, try it. I think that's the way they did it. So in my mind, oh wow, that's great. And hopefully, some games will become successful. And luckily, Helldiver 2 did so well.
It sure did.
No one have expected, right?
Yeah, of course.
So you cannot plan a success in this industry. That's the most fun part.
That's the fun part. That's the fun part.
That's the most fun part of this business, right?
Yeah.
So hope I hope this strategy would work in the end. Yeah. So yeah.
How jealous were you though that Herman takes control? Herman takes control. They give him all this resource and money to go make this second thing. You're in there. Yeah. You're trying to make the Vita happen, but you got to split teams. They're not giving you more studios to make Vita games. I digress.
I thought if I was in the position of Herman, probably I would have tried to resist that direction. So so probably maybe that's one of the reasons they removed me from the first party. Because they
Shu's gonna be a problem. Shu's gonna be a problem for a live service push. She won't want to do it. Get him out. Move it over there.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. What was the conversation? What was your reaction when it was? All right, you've been Sony Worldwide Studios president for this many years, right? 2008 to 2019.
11 years.
Yeah. And now we don't want you to do that anymore. Was that a shock to you? Were you upset?
On one hand, I was enjoying what I was doing.
Sure.
We had such a great talent in the organization. We had so many great games and IPs to work on. I totally enjoyed working on first-party game development. And in my mind, I didn't have any interest to work in the company other than game development after so many years.
Sure.
But when Jim offered me this idea to do something on indies, like he was like, at that time, we as a company was criticized not supporting indies enough. Like launch of PS4 days, Adam Boyce days,
Yep.
we are helping and promoting indie games so well, and people loved it, and the industry loved it. And I loved what Adam's team was doing, Gio Corsi and Nick Satna and all these people, John Drake, Sean Benson.
We don't
all
compliment
these great
John
people.
Drake here. We don't compliment John Drake
Oh,
here.
okay. Yeah, well, John was an interesting personality. But anyway,
Stop. What does that mean? What does that mean? John was an interesting personality. What does that mean?
I wouldn't say a particular title, but when we launched as a first party game, the game didn't get the good score. He came to my office and said, "Sure, you should, you should shut down this studio." That's what he said.
Cold-blooded.
Yeah. Well, I always teased him, saying that for him, or anyone, he's always the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for him to not to kind of shut down other people.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
fair
yeah, I loved working with John. So sorry, John, to share that episode.
I'm sure he's fine.
Anyways, what we are talking about, I thought about indie. Yeah. So when Jim offered me, so because the company was criticized, and I was very worried about the trend as well, how we are being seen. So when Jim said, sure, we've been criticized, we are not doing enough for indies, and I said, yeah, Jim, you should do something about it. And Jim said that no, I want you to do something about it. Me? And he said that, I get Herman to manage the first party. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Like, okay, demotion, great, cool.
I didn't think it was demotion.
Yeah.
I thought, it's something I cared about, and I thought I could uniquely do something about. So after 11 years managing worldwide studios, even though I enjoyed and I was proud of what we have accomplished, leading the group with by the same person for such a long time might not be a great thing. Like talking about service games, because I had one way of thinking and looking at games. Certain things I am not interested. I wouldn't even try. Like I totally was not interested in movies being made based on our game IP. I thought film industry looked down on us, and they didn't respect the creative aspect of the video games, and
sure.
they would make very bad movies if they try. So I had no interest. But after I left, look at all these great movies and TV shows being made, right? Yeah. So with energy and passion, because I got the president of Worldwide Studio job in early 40s, like same age as Herman got. So I thought it's great to bring in new person with renewed energy and passion and different way of thinking.
For sure.
And guts to challenge something even seem difficult. So even though I was sad to move on from first party, part of me are thinking maybe it's a good thing for the company. If company let me, because I would have continued, right?
Yeah, just kept going. Yeah.
Yeah. So it has to be, made like that for me to move on. And Jim created a really exciting and role for me to work on.
So then, when you come into this indie role, what do you bring to the table? I think people see you so much publicly as, okay, you're changing your Twitter banner, you're tweeting about this indie you saw, it's cool. What does the actual job look like? Like, what were you doing day to day?
Yeah. So it was at the time, end of 2019 and 2020, COVID happened, right?
I vaguely remember.
Yeah. Plan was, of course, to visit, developers, publishers, and visit events and check out games. And now that was possible, right? And COVID.
Sure.
So my initial focus was more on working internally to find out what's going on. What the leaders of different departments. Because I was one person department reporting to Jim Ryan, I was able to work with all department like very flatly. For them, it's very easy for them to work with me as well. I was an additional resource and to find out, what's going on. And of course, I talked to publishers and friendly developers as well, what their views on us. And our third-party department did the same. They were already working on what internally we called Indie 2.0 initiative before I got assigned. Maybe, they asked Jim Ryan to add me to that project, from TPR. Third-party department teams because they are working on Indie 2.0 internally, and maybe Jim Ryan saw the opportunity to add me to their efforts. So quickly, I started working closely on with the third-party department teams who are working on Indie 2.0 initiative, and luckily, I got the message from Greg Rice. They just sold their company, Double Fine, to Microsoft. And as Greg was managing publishing business for Double Fine, and Microsoft has decided to shut down the business, he kind of lost, his role, half of his responsibility. He was a producer as well, but he asked me, there's a role, being open at PlayStation about this leading indie account management team. Can you say something good about me? So I sent an email internally to the management people in third-party relations that you should hire this guy, Greg Rice. So Greg joined about the same time as I got this new role. And same time, Christian Svensson came over from, I've known him for a long time. He was head of Capcom US, and he had his own, developer business, joined us as well in the TPR side. So I had two great partners to work on this initiative. And the TPR team had a great network of publishers and developers. They were talking, throughout the year. So I was able to join them in the meeting and got direct feedback from these, partners of us. So internally, trying to find out what we need to do, what the developers and publishers are struggling with working on PlayStation, and try to change it, create a plan and get the management of these departments to be able to support the initiative and give priority to create tools and some systems and policies change to help indie games become more successful on PlayStation. So the first 2 years during COVID, my focus was more on the internal evangelism.
Sure.
And after COVID, it's all about traveling. I visited 21 game event last year.
How many?
21 video game
dang.
event. Yeah. So almost 2 per month. So I counted because I have to do for tax return. I was outside Japan 120 days.
God dang.
Last year. Yeah, so for the last 3 years, I was traveling, visiting game events and meeting with, publishers and developers to find out great new games and promote games on, our social channel, on my channel.
Yeah.
And attend events and do presentations and do panel of developers. I really love doing these things. At GDC, I think it's the GDC last year, I had 4 young developers in my channel. And that was one of the sponsored sessions in GDC in a huge, large room full of people attending. I had two developers in their 20s, and all of them working on very, very creative, great games. So they had great stories to tell. So we did, I did that panel. And after the GDC, they send us report card scores after a few months. And my session was second most popular session on the game design track.
Very good. Who was number one?
Yeah, very proud. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. They don't get their own interview here. They don't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I've been doing that kind of thing.
You're on the road that much. What's the family think? Yeah. You got twin daughters at home. Are they where you at, Dad? Or are they happy to see you gone?
Oh, my wife is very happy for me to be out. Right, it's one less thing to worry about. She has, we have two daughters, twin daughters. And my daughters, because they've been seeing me out of, Japan for so long, for them, it's kind of natural thing.
Sure. It's going to be weirder now that you don't have a job and you're home more.
I don't know if they understand what it means.
Like, oh, Dad's here and he's doing a podcast in the other room. Why does he keep saying beyond so much? I don't like that one bit. So you go to this role, you start making these inroads for indies, you're changing all the stuff. Why is now the time to step away? Like, why leave PlayStation now? Yeah,
so after 5 years, we have made good progress on this indie side. There's so much more we can do, and we are working on. All the departments are going on, but we hear less and less, problems from our partners, developers, and publishers. Of course, there are so many games being made. The discoverability is the biggest challenge for any, indie developers or publishers to get their games being known or seen. So, we are working on, how best to show the kind of games that for each person player, the kind of game that each player would find it most attractive, even though they don't know nothing about these games. Yeah, so there are a lot more we can do and we are working on. But the progress we have made for the last 5 years, I'm pretty happy and proud. And the team that we have in the company, Sean Benson and these people, John Vega, and great people working on indie stuff across the company. And Jim Ryan was leaving, and he was the very last of our generation, the very first generation with PlayStation. He's been with the company. He had been with the company from PS1 days as well. So, Ken Kutaragi, Kaz Hirai, Andrew House, Jim Ryan, all these people were managing the company, leading the company. Now, handing batons to the next generation of management, Nishino-san and Herman. And Nishino-san is in his 40s, and Herman is, early 50s. Really, really young from our standpoint. So it's a great timing. And I after Jim Ryan announced his departure, I was, we are all talking about internally who would be the next leader.
And, we sold a T-shirt. We were behind you. We sold a T-shirt with your name on it.
Oh, thank you. I got the T-shirts. But my choice would have been, these people, if they are two, leaders. So I am so happy, and I have so much confidence in them leading the company. So I thought, it's about time for me to be free.
So then, what does that mean? Are you retiring from games? Are you just hanging it all up and going fishing? What are you going to do?
In my mind, the last 5 years, even though I did things, I was kind of, the leading first party was a very tough job, right?
Yeah.
It was really fun, and I enjoyed it, but it was so much pressure and responsibility. But the last 5 years, so easy for me.
Comparatively,
No one to manage, no budget, well, nothing, right? No meeting I have to attend, or Jim Ryan just let me do whatever I thought I should be doing. So I didn't have to report anything. So easy that in my mind, moving from worldwide studio to indie role, it may sound strange, but feels bigger change than me leaving the company.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And whatever I do going forward, because I want to continue to, in some way or other, help indie developers or indie publishers.
Yeah.
And there's so many friendly people that I respect in the industry. I hope they would want me to do something for them. I'll be offering, I'll be free, so let me know what I can do for you. So I'll be waiting for them to send me email that, hey, Shu, can you do this for us?
Okay.
Kind of thing. So, and if that's successful, probably what I'll be doing going forward wouldn't be so much different from the last 5 years in my mind.
Sure.
That may sound strange. And
no,
I
it makes sense.
Delusional, right? But
I'm just happy you're staying in games. I wanted to make sure you weren't hanging it all up.
I still have lots of energy.
Okay, good.
I have time. And lucky company paid me so well for the last so many years that I don't really have to work for money. So,
Shu, if you don't want to work for money, I got a company for you called Kind of Funny. Come do Shu streams. Come hang out with us. Because we don't pay nothing.
Let me know what I can do for you.
We'll talk off air. We'll get you a show. We'll get you streaming. Well, you can be the late night crew when we're going away. You're streaming for us. Shu's picks. Here's the indies games he thinks you should be playing.
Yeah. Well, I'll do only things I find it fun. So, yeah.
Okay.
That kind of things.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Shu, like I said earlier, you have been getting tons and tons of super chats here over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. I want to start wading into them, pepper in some of my own questions. But the one I've seen in chat a lot from a lot of different people, and then the one I see over here speaks to something I know you love. SaneU.com says, will we ever see Bloodborne again?
Oh, yeah. You'd want, right?
We'd want it.
Yeah, so Bloodborne is one of the most popular asks on my Twitter X channel. People like, other popular things, luckily is one of my games, Apex, whether a sequel or Legend of Dragoon, whether remake or something. But Bloodborne has always been the most asked thing. And the people wonder why we haven't really done anything, even update, or
a
remake,
remaster,
or remaster, should be easy, right?
Yeah, super easy. Hit the button.
Known for doing so many remasters, right?
Yeah.
Some people get frustrated.
Screw 'em.
Well, I have only my personal theory to that situation. I left first party, so I don't know what's going on. But my theory is, because I remember, Miyazaki-san really loved Bloodborne, what he created. And so I think he is interested, but he's so successful and he's so busy. So he cannot do himself, but he doesn't want anyone else to touch it. So that's my theory.
Okay.
And the PlayStation team respect his wish. So that's my guess, right? Theory. I'm not revealing any secret information.
No.
To be clear.
Hopefully Jordan Midler will still make an article about it, but I understand you're not revealing anything. To take that in a different direction and pull a thread you just put out there, you talk about PlayStation respecting the creator enough not just to go make someone else make it or stuff like that. How much is respect in the conversation when PlayStation is making games? Because I think all the time of I feel like even when you were in charge it would have been your prerogative to tell Naughty Dog, don't worry about The Last of Us, keep making Uncharted, or don't worry about going back to Uncharted, keep making Last of Us. Like, where do you, because you worry about the business point, because you are a business, it is a business to make video games, but then there is the art. Like, how do you find a balance between that? How much of that exists where it is, okay, we're not, and I know there's so many people who want to be negative in comments, I'm sure, we're not just money grubbing here. We are trying to make the right choices for our creators. How does that all play out in your mind?
Well, I think I'm one of these people in the industry who are so naive to believe that, developer, creator has to really, really believe in something they are making, and has to be so passionate about something they are making to make something great. Because making games is so hard, and there's no clear way of saying this is good or this is good enough. There's no service level agreement that the game has to satisfy these functions to be able to be accepted or anything.
For sure.
It's all subjective judgment, right?
Yep.
How good is good? How good is good enough? So teams go well beyond their limit to make something special if they truly believe in what they are making and doing and passionate about. So oftentimes, we management had to make the studio stop making the game, because the game is, in our mind, great enough, not just good enough, great enough. But every time great game, like a game of the year receiving game was in development, the developers, game directors and these people would say, there are so many issues, in the game. They wish they can fix them or improve them, right? So we have to remove them from doing it. So at the very, very end, we always had to do it. But during the development, I always believed in the thing that I said, that the best results, best game would be like I was thinking all the way, how the great games are being made and how, people make great games. And one of the answer should be, because the developer is so much, into the project, they do amazing things. So
I love that.
Thank you.
I want to pepper in one of my own here. You, of course, have been a kind of funny beyond IGN listener for quite some time. As long as I've known you, it's how we became friends. You listen, and you listen to every Games Daily? You tell me, that's what you told me, right? You listen to Games Daily regularly every day?
When I commute.
Yeah. So now you're done. Now it's over. You're canceling your Patreon.
No. Yeah. Maybe I stop listening. But, no.
My question is, from our side, if you want to call it press, critics, enthusiasts, whatever, what's the biggest misconception you hear us say over and over again? What do you hear us say or go back to and be like, oh, that's just not how it works. They don't understand games that way.
That's a great question, because I do feel occasionally like that. But the particular example that just doesn't come up. I have to think about.
Think about it. We got 3 hours of show left. You can think about it.
Yeah. You had asked that question.
Because I wonder too, what to toss it in the hopper for you to think about as it kicks around. Fans as well. Like, I know there's a difference between the people who talk about it in the games and then the people consuming it, but like, you interact so much with Twitter and what you see on social media, and even when there was PSX, and there should be PSX again, you interacted. I would wonder what you think fans get wrong as well, that they just don't understand about making games.
I talked about, I joked about Herman sometimes criticized of making too many remasters, right?
Yeah.
And I think the people who complain about that are maybe thinking that Herman is doing it instead of doing something new or something great.
Right.
Yeah, but
those resources are going
oftentimes-
to a remaster
Yeah,
instead
yeah,
of
yeah.
the next IP from Sony Bend or whoever.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm sure this remake is made, by a dedicated different team or some, some porting teams on especially PC version
For sure.
is a PC porting expert. So I don't think he's sacrificing anything by doing it, but by doing remake or remaster, it's much cheaper to produce and create additional revenue and create new users to the IP, especially when you port the game to PC.
Sure.
So that bringing revenues enough to keep investing in big titles like big single player games now cost so much. So they need additional income by doing remasters and porting to PC to be able to do that. So for them, if they like first party's output, like a big single player game, they should support Harman doing these porting and remasters so that he can keep investing in these great new games.
That's a great point. You bring up the PC ports. Now that you're out, now that you can say whatever you think, do you think we ever see a future in the near future, whatever, of PlayStation just being a publisher, not having boxes, just putting things onto PC?
I think PlayStation makes great hardware. So one thing I really enjoyed working with the hardware team when I moved back to Japan in 2008, and ever since I worked closely with the hardware team, and I enjoyed so much because our studios, many of them, I shouldn't say many of them, all of them, hopefully, are such a talented, great teams, studios that they only try to make the best game in the industry, right? They really aim high, and PlayStation, the hardware team is the same. They only think about the best hardware in the industry. They want to make something innovative, something that never been done, like something like the trigger on the DualSense.
Sure, adaptive triggers.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get when you feel it for the first time, that was really difficult to produce, and actually the hardware team tried to make it for DualShock 4, and they are not able to do it. So it was their second trial for DualSense, and so working with teams like that, only thinking about creating something innovative, something never been done, or some best in the industry is so much fun. So for me, working with hardware team and working with the studios, first-party studios, same, because we are in such a blessed environment that the company let us aim for the best.
That's great. This is a nice question from Ian, who super chats on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. It piggybacks on this conversation. What's your favorite memory throughout your years working with PlayStation?
Yeah, that's a great question, and people ask me that, and I always answer the biggest memory for me is when we launched the very first PlayStation in Japan. The December 3rd, 1994. Because it was our first entry into the business, and it was, Ken Kutaragi. We always believed Ken Kutaragi's team made amazing hardware, 3D graphics, and the Ridge Racer looked so good. But we didn't know how it will be received. And so we, at the launch of the new hardware, we always go to Shinjuku or Akihabara or Shibuya, the big, electronics store to watch people lining up, right? Long line of people waiting for the store to open so that they can purchase the hardware on launch day. So we stood there for hours just watching people one by one purchase and a couple games together, and they looked so happy. We wanted to talk to them, everyone, but we refrained ourselves from doing it. But
sure.
yeah, so every time new hardware around, it was really fun. But especially the very first one, because it was our child, right?
Yeah.
We worked so hard. We are like a small team when we started the company. We had only 80 plus people. I was like employee number 32. So it was such a special moment, special day for us all at that, at that time of the PlayStation.
Have you thought about if you're going to be able to deal with when there is a PlayStation 6 or whatever they call it, and you're on the outside, like you're not, you're not at the store, you're not, or even if you are, it's not yours anymore, right? Have you thought about that? Are you okay with that?
Well, I'm not okay if there's no PlayStation new hardware. Yeah, so company was so nice, they or people there were so nice to set up multiple events for the last couple of months to talk to people in the company, not just in Japan, but the US and Europe as well. So for the last 2 or 3 months, I had the opportunity 3 or 4 times to talk to employees in a gathering. One which was like 2 days ago, the last day of my departure, last day of my company. They in the late afternoon, they had inside company gathering and asked me anything kind of sessions. And so I did that, and after that we had a party in the office, and it was really fun. So one of the things I asked them is in 20 years, hopefully I would have grandchildren, and when I was dying, I could say to my grandchildren that that was the party.
Amazing cake. Amazing cake.
Thank you. Yeah, so I could say that to my grandchildren that the PlayStation that everybody plays and enjoy, I was involved in the making that, the very first one. So I want to brag about when I'm dying. So ask the
What an
people in the
aspiration.
company to keep working hard, do PlayStation great, so that I'll be happy.
CJ Splits on Super Chats and says, what's your favorite project you were a part of at PlayStation?
Favorite project?
Because CJ tosses out Legend of Dragoon.
Personally, the one I most enjoyed working on was Ape Escape. Legend of Dragoon was a huge project. We had over 100 people working internally on PS1. That was really hard. But Ape Escape was much smaller team, 20 or 30, 25 people. And I was so involved in the game design side as well. Every creative decisions I was also part of. And we are making a game dedicated for the DualShock. The controller had 2 analog sticks. And so we are trying to make something that's only possible with 2 analog sticks. And I remember, UX marketing lead asking me that, this game requires DualShock, so can you make it compatible with the regular controller? I was so mad that, no, this is not the point. Anyway, so Ape Escape was the project I was personally hands-on and, most enjoyed.
And people will continue to ask for the rest of time when they're getting another one or when they're getting the remaster or whatever.
That's amazing, isn't it? The game was part of launching PlayStation Classics in the PS Plus Premium a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And somehow the team decided to promote the new feature with Ape Escape. After so many years, I found my game being used to promote a new service and finding new players to try Ape Escape for the first time.
The Uncharted Wolf super chats and says, I have so much respect for your many years of hard work at PlayStation, Shu. Have you ever met a game developer who inspired you to do bigger things?
Any developer who inspired me to do better?
To bigger things, I think, yeah, like maybe make a bigger version.
Oh yeah. So I was so lucky that two projects I worked on were Crash Bandicoot and Gran Turismo, right?
Yeah.
And the people like Mark Cerny, Naughty Dog, Kazunori Yamauchi, they are amazing people. They have such a creative ideas and experience and vision. I was so inspired working with these people, and they are very demanding because they knew they are making great games. So they wanted everyone who touched their games, from production to marketing to service to So it was really hard, but that really helped me to grow as a producer.
You talked about Crash. Kebab super chats and says, as a huge Crash and Ratchet fan, I'd be remiss not to ask how you helped and influenced those games. Love you, Shu. You are such a bright star in gaming.
Thank you. Crash Bandicoot, because the first game was pretty difficult one. You remember, right? It was very challenging.
Oh yeah.
Action platformer. So when I got involved as a producer for Japanese market, I felt the game was too hard and and the game didn't explain enough to the onboarding wasn't good enough for the Japanese audience. It was okay, no problem for the probably Western audience to. They are happy to find out, how to play games. However, Japanese games and Japanese game players are so used to being like, hand-holded to start games. So I talked to Mark and Naughty Dog, and they didn't have time to implement these features for the US and European launch, but they gave their time and resource to do something special for the Japanese version, because the game came out in September for the US and Japan launch was planned for December, because December was most important month for Japanese market. So they had 3 months to do things that I asked them to do, like so when you pick up Aku Max, right? The Mark created the system that for the Japanese version only, when you pick up the Aku Max, Aku has a window to talk about how to play games every time. That's one example, and they also allowed me to do the play test with users and find the difficult point in the game, and many people would have stopped playing. They gave us to add like a continue box. So only Japanese version had additional continue box, and Mark and Naughty Dog, also had a system to look how the players are doing and dynamically change the difficulty of the game if you are struggling too much, and try not to be obvious that the game is doing it. So they customized the game so much for the Japanese version, and the game became a hit in Japan. That marketing activity in Japan was also great as well. So they let us do that. They customized their game for the Japanese audience, and they took all the improvement that they made into their future titles.
Sure.
For example, second game, Japanese marketing team created TV commercial with the Crash Bandicoot dancing, Crash dance.
Yeah.
And if you remember the Crash 3 at the opening, Crash start dancing, right?
Yeah.
That they took the dance that Crash did only for the TV commercial in the marketing and put that into the game. So that was really fun collaboration between the Japan team and Naughty Dog and Mark Cerny.
That's incredible. CJ
Thank you.
Splitson's back with a different one and says, what did you originally dislike about God of War 2018? Remember, this is
that video, right?
a classic story where Corey Barlog talks about how you said you were horrified to someone after you played it.
Yeah. I was horrified because the game was huge, right? And we had so much expectation as a company as well. And when I visited Santa Monica Studios, Corey presented the game and let me play the game. And at that time, the game was coming out the October of that year or so. And so I was like thinking about how many more months the team has and the state of the game. And I was like, oh, this is bad, in terms of situation. This game would never be finished in good state if we kept the schedule. So, but Corey was so passionate and he's such a nice guy. I couldn't tell him. Even though my face was saying something. So I walked back into Shannon Statu's, studio director's office and said to Shannon, we have a problem. And, so I explained the things to Shannon. But I had a chance to talk to Corey the other, later. And I said, I was horrified, playing the game. But in the end, we are able to move, give the project additional maybe 6 months or so. The game came out in April or June, the year after, to make the game that was God of War 2018. So like a game of the year quality. So
for sure.
So I was so happy that team pushed to keep working on to polish the game. So what was the problem? The game had some frame rate issues and also the camera issues and AI enemies shooting at me from outside the view or
sure.
The gameplay wasn't really top notch. So that was the problem.
Okay. Horrifying.
Horrifying.
Omega Buster says, when you are looking at potential new games, how do you know if a new idea is the right fit for PlayStation? What makes something a PlayStation Studios game?
In my days, right?
Yeah, your days.
Back in the days. Yeah, we always wanted these. So we are big fans of new IPs and new ideas. So we always wanted to find something new. For example, when a European team, Phil Harrison, acquired the title, signed up with a Media Molecule about Little Big Planet, that was amazing, new concept. At that time, I don't think we are talking about UGC, before Little Big Planet.
Yeah.
So something like that, that has never been done before, kind of thing. That's the thing excited me the most.
For sure. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I like this one. I don't know if you'll have an answer, but I'll read it anyway. Joshua super chats and says, congrats. End of an era indeed. Regarding UMDs, why were they clear on the bottom? At my old job, we frequently had parents demanding refunds after they had opened them. For the PSP, the UMDs. Why was the bottom clear? People were cracking open the case thinking it was a CD to put in.
There are people doing it?
Apparently.
Oh, no. That's so... Wow. Yeah, it's... Sorry about it.
You have my apologies. I didn't think people would do that. I didn't know they would crack it open.
Yeah, we didn't think... we thought it's easier to handle smaller disc than CD with a case. Yeah. So
Kebab says my mom did that. Dang,
okay.
I didn't hear about people cracking them open. I didn't know that was the thing that was going on up there.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole bunch of people who wrote in just saying how much they love you, respect you. I think I'm going to give it to Guitar Hero here who summed all that. Congrats on this new chapter, to the best smile in the business. Thank you for helping shape PlayStation into the amazing experience it is today.
Thank you.
And then final question from the chat. Team Ramrod says, Shu, can you rescue Gravity Rush from PlayStation now, like Freedom Wars was just rescued? We love you, Shu.
Oh wow, yeah, the Freedom Wars came out, and the original developer did the remake. That's amazing. So
Yeah, right.
These days, because original creators, left the company, right? In most cases for these old IPs, yeah, it's the developers, outside the company who have knowledge and more passion about. So I think again, after I left, the company first party is more open to license IPs. Like you remember when we launched PSVR 2, there's a Fantavision, right? Fantavision
Yeah.
in VR. That was actually created by the original creator of Fantavision. He is now an indie developer, and he asked for the license and did. Yeah, so it was done with much love and care and knowledge. Gravity Rush, the team is now independent developer called Boca Game Studio. They just released the Slitterhead, Toyama-san's team. So never say never, right? Who knows?
I never thought there'd be a Freedom Wars remastered, so don't worry about it. I was very shocked and happy to see that. You know how much I love Freedom Wars. Shu, I want to close you out, get you a few things, and get you on your way because you have a whole free day in Japan to do whatever it is you want since you have no job. We just, right now declared our game of the year, gave it to Astrobot. We've been doing our top 10 lists all week long. For you, Shuhei Yoshida. Oh, you're welcome. Yes, we did it just because you're going to be on, as you can read the comments. Everybody understands. For you, what was game of the year 2024? What was your game of the year?
My game of the year 2024 was a game called Nine Souls.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, it's a game developed by Taiwanese developer Red Candle Games.
Yep.
They used to make horror games, but this one is actually action platformer. I'd say Sekiro-like. It's the best Sekiro kind of game you can play on any platform, but in 2D. It's a beautiful game, cute character, but really scary kind of story. Very, very good. It's amazing game. I finished the game on PC. The game came out on PC first, but I couldn't finish the game with the normal difficulty. Some of the bosses
you need
are
some help.
hard. So I had to drop the difficulty to finish it.
Yeah.
So I restarted the game. When the game came out on PS5 in November. But I got stuck at the same boss, later boss. So I was not able to finish the game on PS5 with the normal difficulty. But still, the game is so good. My game of the year.
You're making Barrett very happy, of course. Nine Souls, number 8 on Kinda Funny's top 10 for 2024.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, had a bunch of fans here.
Thank you.
No problem.
You are good.
We're doing our best out here, Shu. We're trying our best out here. No thanks to Roger. My question for you, Shu, is then 2025. What's your most anticipated game?
Oh, it's so easy. It's so easy.
What is it?
Oh, yeah, it's so easy. You know how much I love, Ghost of Tsushima, right? And the Sucker Punch. I'm so excited for Ghost of Yote.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Actually, every time I was in San Mateo office, in my last role of indies, the San Mateo studio was producing the game, working with the Sucker Punch, and they always brought me into the office and let me play the game and they asked me to provide feedback. So I've been playing the game for the last few years.
You suck. I hate you. Is that one of, I guess that's like picking your children, I guess. I was going to say one of your bright spots, but obviously when you were president of Sony Worldwide Studios, you're working so closely with Sucker Punch on Infamous, watching them make this franchise into superheroes. How did they pitch you Ghost of Tsushima? Did they just walk in, or did you have a conversation? Were there multiple things? Like there was an Infamous, I guess 4 technically, but you know what I mean?
Well, they are sure, they are confident, and as confident they'll make a great game, but they are not sure if they it's right idea for them to tackle on this Japan themed game from a studio in the US.
Yeah, of course.
But I remember saying that so they didn't want to do it in wrong way, right? That they didn't want to upset people in Japan. But I said, well, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said that, Japanese market is so small, don't worry. Yeah, but after that, Sucker Punch worked closely with, Japan studio people to make sure that they treat the material correctly. And I personally gave, some feedback, it's very easy to mix and match things from China or Southeast Asia with things in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all Asia, right? From Western people. So Sucker Punch early days had pushed, put some things from different culture, and the team in Japan, myself, no, remove this, and so gave enough feedback. They did research and treated the materials with respect. So the game was not just great game, but also made people in Japan proud.
Good. All right, and then the final thing before I let you go live your life, I want to go through and do word association, all right? I'm going to give you words. You tell me the first thing that pops into your mind about it, okay?
Okay.
PlayStation 1.
Love.
All right. PlayStation 2.
To US. I moved to US.
Okay, good. PSP.
PSP was Hot Shots Golf.
Yes! Oh my God, it was Open T. Never forget you. And then, of course, you got to go be in the one they put out on PS4. Remember that when they made you? They put you in that?
Oh, yeah,
you were running the field. Love that one. PSP. PS3.
PS3 was hard, difficult.
PS4.
PS4 was Mark Cerny.
Okay. Vita.
Vita was loud.
Okay. It also meant life, but I'll accept love. It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
PSVR.
PSVR was most fun I had.
Why?
Personally. Well, that's another one of collaboration between the game team and, hardware team. It was Santa Monica Studios, God of War team in PS3 days. They customized the PS3 God of War and they put PS Move onto the video viewer.
Yeah.
And created a headset, a VR headset, handmade. And they put me that headset and I was Kratos. And that really amazed me. So it was the idea, the PS4 generation, we can do proper VR. So that idea came from studio side and the hardware team loved as well. And I was one of the internal lead as an executive lead with the hardware head and myself leading the project internally. And I got to announce the project at GDC. Yeah, so
I remember that. I still talk about that all the time whenever we talk about VR. You coming on the GDC show and talking about, look, we are PlayStation 1 again. We are starting from scratch. Build all this stuff up. Back to the word association.
So, and I'm sorry I was wrong. PSVR 2 didn't become PS2. So, yeah, you can.
What happened with PSVR 2? What happened with PSVR 2, Shu?
Well, let's move on. The conversations.
Well, spoilers, it's coming up in a second. I need a word for it. PlayStation,
really?
PS5. PS5. What's your word association with PS5?
PS5 to me somehow COVID.
Yeah.
Like COVID days. Yeah.
That makes sense. PlayStation VR 2.
VR 2 is 2 games I super love. Synapse.
Yep, Synapse, yeah.
And Before Your Eyes.
Before Your Eyes.
2 amazing game.
Yeah.
I want everyone to try if you have PSVR 2.
100%.
Yeah, I remember, that especially Before Your Eyes hit you as well, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was sobbing.
Yeah, me too. I had the tears in my eyes playing games only twice in my life. The first time was Journey, and second time was Before Your Eyes. Yeah, it's amazing story.
And yeah, totally, yeah, 100%. And then final word association, Beyond.
Yeah. Beyond was Happy Days.
Yeah. Shu,
Yeah.
you are amazing. Thank you for spending your day with me and coming to hang out and do this podcast with us. You're incredible. I love you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm so proud. The first thing after I left the company was to show up in this show. So thank you for having me.
We got to figure out time zone to get you here regularly. You know what I mean? Maybe we do every so often, once a month, we do a Games Daily at 4 p.m. just so we can have Shu on to talk about it.
I'd be happy to.
I love that. I want you to take care. Everybody follow YoSP to follow up with what Shu's on to next. I'm sure it won't be long before he's in another game, before he's announcing another thing. But of course, whenever he does announce something, we'll talk about it here on Kinda Funny, because we're an 11-person business all about video games and live talk shows about those video games. You can catch us with Kinda Funny Games Daily each and every weekday, followed by the Kinda Funny Gamescast, followed by a stream, and then often all sorts of crazy stuff. Apparently, the Switch 2 is going to be announced somewhat soon. Do you know anything about Switch 2, Shu? What do you know about the Switch 2? When are they announcing it?
I'm happy. I'm so happy this show happened before they announced.
One day they'll talk about that, and we'll talk about it as well. If you love the content we make here, remember you can get it all live and for free on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames and youtube.com/kindafunnygames and podcast services around the globe. However, if you want to go that extra mile, pick up a Kinda Funny membership on patreon.com/kindafunny, youtube.com/kindafunnygames, Spotify or Apple, where of course $10 gets you all the shows ad-free, the ability to watch live as we record the afternoon podcast, and a daily dose of me, Greg Miller, in a vlog/podcast series. For now, Shu, you're amazing. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you. Beyond!
Thank you. Beyond!